This is the big question on Wednesday's edition of Morning Kicker. And I'm Robert. He's Jason. Earlier in the show, we talked about Seattle's victory over Inter Miami, winning the League's Cup 2025. Following that victory, immediately, as soon as the whistle blew, a whole different set of circumstances set in as Suarez, Busquets, and other Inter Miami players headlocked, punched, pushed, pulled, spat, and all sorts of bad behavior went down. And basically, the big question, will Suarez and co be banned? And who's going to be laying out that punishment here? Will it be Leagues Cup? Will it be MLS? What is to come for punishing this poor behavior on Sunday night?
Well, okay, so we're going to give you the visuals here, catch you up if you haven't seen this, which I'm sure you have if you're a soccer fan, but let's relive it because there's some stuff here. But I do want to point out that typically MLS disciplinary committee decisions come down on Thursdays. Now, we're here talking on Wednesday. So we're a day out from the usual drop of decisions by the disciplinary committee from games that happen in Major League Soccer. This game did not happen officially in Major League Soccer. It happened in the Leagues Cup, which leads us to a question of whether or not the MLS disciplinary committee will have anything to say about it. Probably not. However, it will definitely be on the desk of Don Garber. It can go up a level to Don Garber. Now, I'll show you what applies in this case to Luis Suarez. But first, let's relive the drama, the insanity that was that Sunday night in Seattle. Here is, well, let me get that off the screen. Let me put this one back up. Here is the video of the actual post-match brawl. This is from the press box. I grabbed this from Blue Sky, and you can see that Luis Suarez is right there in the middle of it. Whole lot of stuff is going on. The Falcone there being restrained and fighting. And look, it's just a mess, right? Look, we got a full-on takedown there from a Seattle reserve of a Miami player. It's ugly. Now, this is enough for bans, for suspension, for fines, right? Just this part of it, right, Rob? Like, do you see plenty enough here to be like, you get a yellow card, you get a red card, you get a suspension, like all kinds of stuff going on there, right?
Well, I mean, any hands to the face in play or outside of play is an automatic banning. So there's plenty of hands to the face going on here from multiple perpetrators on both sides, in fairness, but definitely the instigators, or at least the antagonizers, definitely look to be those ones wearing pink. And do you have something with the history of like spitting and stuff like that?
I do. However, let's another visual from the day, from the evening, from the event. Here is what this is specifically Luis Suarez in his little kerfuffle, little moment with the security. This is the security chief of the Seattle Sounders, by the way. This is the guy in charge of security. Here it is. That's the spit. You see the spit. Now, I will also point out that Luis Suarez, let me rewind this a little bit. Luis Suarez steps on the foot.
I didn't see the footstep. At first, I was like, did the spit so strong it threw the man back? But the foot on that's like orchestrated to step on the foot so he couldn't walk away, and then leaned in for the spit.
So eight red cards handed out. But again, this is about more than just a red card, which is a one-match ban. It could be expanded to 2 matches, I suppose, in some cases. This is whether or not, specifically for this incident, Luis Suarez deserves a much stiffer penalty. I think that's where we're at, Rob. Now, so this is I grabbed this from Football Americas. Actually, Charlie Bone posted it on Blue Sky, and Football Americas put it together. This is the history of Luis Suarez. I don't think anybody doesn't know some of this history, but here you go. Here it is in black and white. He had a biting incident in 2010. He got a 7-match ban. He had the racial abuse event with Patrice Evra when he was at Liverpool. That's an 8-match ban. Now, there is at least, and I'm not trying to excuse his behavior, but there's at least some question over whether or not the Patrice Evra thing was a cultural misunderstanding rather than out-and-out racism. But I think it probably is. I think it is probably racist. That's my opinion on this. I have had plenty of debates with my Spanish-speaking wife over what word he used and whether or not it is a racist word.
So does your wife, your native Spanish-speaking wife, think that it could be a cultural difference, or more like he did the bad thing?
No, she thinks it's more explicable as a cultural difference, that in Spanish-speaking cultures, particularly in Latin America, identifying characteristics are sometimes like almost like a nickname kind of thing. Now, again, I think you have to know the context. And by the way, I don't think that's right? Not to be somebody who's telling Spanish speakers in Latin America what to do, but I don't think the way that they use those words is actually good. Like I've had issues with my in-laws and sort of some of the things they say. And again, they don't think it's racism. They think it's just, this is what we do. But that's how racism gets by saying this is just what we do. And I think otherwise my in-laws are wonderful people, but I don't think they should be using certain words. And sometimes it's not necessarily racist. It's just kind of cruel, right? Like everybody who speaks Spanish has heard somebody say gordito. Ah, el gordito to somebody's face. Like, hey, hola, gordito. That like fat person. You're saying, hey, fatso. Like that's a thing. Now, again, Suarez is not a good guy, so probably that's racismo. Now, he had the biting incident with Branislav Ivanovic.
That was the World Cup one, right?
Yeah, that's that. And the World Cup one is, and then he had Chiellini. Then he had the Giorgio Chiellini biting incident in 2014. 9-match international ban. That's the World Cup one.
Okay.
4 months on all matches. Okay. So this is the history. Now, he has a track record. Should that apply in this case? I think it probably should. But, some people would say maybe just on this one incident. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got to say, so I'm a Liverpool fan, and I've been a Luis Suarez fan for a very, very long time. And I've been pretty good at separating the art and the artists throughout the whole bit. Like, he is obviously one of the best goal scorers the world has seen, definitely in this era, maybe ever. And sadly, like without this list that you have on the screen here, I think he might be considered much more in that, the Messi, Ronaldo, and that sort of echelon. But he's maybe like tuckered down a level or two, only simply because I think maybe because he's from a small country, but also because of this behavior. And if you see the last incident that he was punished for over 10 years ago, so I was trying to be positive, and maybe he's turned over a new leaf, and he's just such an amazing soccer player. But all these things that are listed here were examples of him being a spastic competitor, absolutely just a psychopathic competitor. And these things all seem to be born from frustration, from the competitiveness being like an explosion of that when things, I bet in all of these incidences, his team was losing or it wasn't going well. And he just did a absolute competitive spaz out. Like his personality would not allow for a loss to exist in his brain. And he just lashes out.
No, but you can't have that, right? If you
can't, obviously not. I mean, 10 years later, here he goes. He's getting in an elderly gentleman's face. And besides all that other argy-bargy,
not elderly, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
His senior for sure.
Okay, all right. Luis Suarez is just, I mean, if Joey Barton had Luis Suarez's talent, Joey Barton has some legal stuff too, but
he didn't put a cigar in anyone's eyeball, Suarez.
Well, that's true. Okay. Well, we don't, but see, here's the thing. We also don't know everything Luis Suarez has done because we can't know. Right. What I'm saying is there's probably stuff that hasn't been publicized. Now, when it comes to the league and Don Garber being involved, Tim Holtz put this on Blue Sky in response to Tom Bogert writing this up. Could MLS get involved here, even though it's a Leagues Cup issue? And obviously you can see Tom was pointing out that Mike Petke got 3 games for a Leagues Cup outburst at a referee. That was, I think, the one that I think he called him a name. I think he used a slur in Spanish, Mike Petke, when that happened. Clint Dempsey got the 3-game suspension for ripping up the referee's notebook in the US Open Cup game, the one they call Red Wedding or Red Card Wedding up there in Seattle. That was against the Timbers. So there is some precedent, right? Outside of the competitions that MLS doesn't administers, things happen, and then they added suspensions, right? Okay. So Tim actually has from the CBA, and I'm going to make it bigger so you can see it, on-field misconduct, because this is on the field. This is in the CBA that says MLS can punish a player for on-field conduct even when it's not an MLS competition, right? In or around the stadium or playing facility involving any persons, blah, 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 including but not limited to the playing field, locker room, stands, all this stuff. Basically, they're covering themselves, saying you cannot bring the rules into disrepute or the league into disrepute. You can't make the league look bad, right? Any misconduct that occurs in any stadium or playing facility. It doesn't matter. It doesn't say MLS game or it doesn't say that. It says MLS. It's a stadium or playing facility, which obviously this was. So that's the question here, Rob, is will the league use the CBA to punish Luis Suarez for what he did in Seattle? And if they do, what should that punishment be? And for me, you spit, you're trying to prevent somebody from leaving your personal space by stepping on their foot, right? You're obviously instigating otherwise. We already saw that video. I think this is Luis Suarez done for MLS. I'm talking about months. And if he's done for months, then Miami shouldn't hold on to him. And Miami should be the one, like MLS should punish him. Absolutely. MLS should put a ban on Luis Suarez. But Inter Miami, if you have any principles whatsoever, should be canceling his contract. They should be like, thank you, Luis, for what you've done for us. Get out. You're done.
Wow, that is probably the harshest end of the spectrum. I doubt. I mean, there's a lot of commenters on various platforms, including here right now in our show, thinking that Inter Miami is going to get the slap on the wrist treatment and not get any sort of excessive bans. I'm with you in the sense that there should be some harsh punishments. And you're saying even as far as we don't see Suarez in pink again? Is that what you're intimating here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And look, okay, as some people are saying, in various places, this would be assault, right? This would be a criminal offense, and he should be charged with something. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen in Washington State. And we do this thing where and somebody was talking about hockey earlier, that hockey players sign a waiver so they can do criminal things on the ice, which is like fighting, which is in most cases going to get you arrested. In a hockey game, not a thing that you get arrested for. We kind of accept this, right? We kind of accept that when you're on the field, there are things that maybe go on beyond the pale, but are not criminal or not treated as criminal. Occasionally it does happen. Right. Obviously, malice at the palace type stuff is beyond even that. That's what this is, though, right? How is this not? I mean, I understand it's not fans getting involved or being involved by Suarez, but that's a civilian, for lack of a better word. That's not somebody you're supposed to be doing. Like, if you're like on a competitive environment and that guy's my opponent, and I'm very mad at him, and I do things that might constitute assault in some places, we might be able to say, okay, fine, heat of the moment, competition, et cetera, et cetera. But not this. I mean, spitting is about as gross a thing as you can do to another human being in a public situation.
And it's continued too. Like, oftentimes, you just lost, you're coming for a handshake and you're just like, screw you, buddy. And people kind of get, a little bit of argy-barging, grappled up, and then someone takes a breath and you just move on and it's nothing. But this was continued, like, specifically after Vargas, and then one after another. And then what was it? That moment with the spitting moment was many minutes after the whistle by then. So that was continued. And that gentleman, I'm assuming here, was probably trying to diffuse the situation and was like a, hey, calm down, buckaroo sort of a character in all this.
Probably. Yeah, I do think he maintained his composure, which is obviously part of his job. So
he wasn't screaming in Suarez's face by any means. That all the clips show him holding his ground.
Yeah, and I actually did see, I think it was Seth Vertelny over at Pro Soccer Wire, and I encourage you to go support Seth and what he's doing at Pro Soccer Wire. But he actually had a story that the guy said something like that. This head of security for the Sounders said something like, "I'm just glad he didn't bite me." Which is really that's about the best response to this situation you could have, is to say, I'm so glad he didn't bite me. I know that sucks that he spit on me, but at least he didn't bite me because he's Luis Suarez. That's very funny. Very funny situation.
Yeah, it's not bridge too far. So you're thinking Thursday, maybe we see something. So maybe by the time we come back on Friday, we'll get the answer to this big question. What punishments will be handed down? Will it be just like an arbitrary 2-3 games? Will it be the rest of the season? And will it have more repercussions? Is this the beginning of the end of the Messi experiment? I mean, or is this just like a bump in the road? We shall see. And it was a funny moment you talked about the hockey thing. I had a little bit of a prior career in minor league hockey, and one of the signs before the players enter the locker room, and then again when they enter the ice, is you can't get in a fight with the crowd. They might be antagonized, but you will lose contracts and all other privileges if you get in a fight with the crowd. So that is in the sphere of consciousness in the hockey world. But they might even have one in soccer. I mean, ever since the Eric Cantona thing back in the 90s, they could have that in the soccer locker rooms. I'm not sure.
I want to throw in just this is a little extra bit of spice. We're done with this thing about the after the game and Suarez and all this. But then we also had things happening outside.
This is a head shaker here.
What is going on here? Like
the streets of Seattle getting crazy here.
I mean,
there's a lady there.
Poles to like beat people, and there's stuff being thrown. I mean, first of all,
white shirt guy's brave here. He's just like front row seat here.
Walk away. Just walk away. This is so stupid. I mean, I know that's like the most dad thing to say, but come on, just walk away.
What's the upside there? What is being gained? What is being gained?
Absolutely nothing. No, absolutely nothing. We're not cosplaying hooligans. Okay, let's stop doing that.
Well, us not here on the show, but certainly there on the mean streets of Seattle, some shenanigans going on there. Before our final segment of the day, hit subscribe, become a member, hit the super thanks, and support us as best as you can. And if you can't throw in some Dollarooskies, just tell your friends. If you like talking soccer, talking American-centric soccer, we are working towards becoming one of the town squares of soccer in America, the soccer conversation in America. So tell your friend about Morning Kickaround, Robert Kerr, Jason Davis, 3 times a week and on demand on the YouTube.